So this is an MRE heater, and what they're used for is to be able to heat up meals. They are a flameless heater, so we know that there's some kind of chemical reaction that's going on, and we're going to go ahead and kind of explore some of those things. If we took a look at the set of the instructions, there's the bag, which I've just opened, so that we can kind of take a look at the contents that are inside. The pouch would be, for example, food, and we also have a heater. And it also mentions that there's these little lines that we want to make sure that we don't overfill, because if we end up overfilling these little lines, then that's going to cause a problem. If we take a look at the inside at the actual pouch, it says to don't eat it, so that definitely would be a thing not to do. But there's also some powder that's inside that we can end up seeing, so we know that there's some kind of chemical that's inside of there to be able to make these work. Okay. What I'm going to do is take this out, and I'm just going to pour a little bit of water in the bottom because, again, I don't want to overfill where that's at. So I pour a little bit of water in. Okay. If we end up overfilling, then these aren't going to work. So I want to make sure that I have just the right amount of water inside. Okay. So if I take a look, it looks like that should be good. And right here is that little packet. I'm going to go ahead and place it on the inside. The other thing that I'm going to do is I have a couple of ways that I can actually tell the temperature of what's going on. So I've got one of these little probes, and you can actually hear it already. And I'm putting a little temperature probe inside of there. And we can kind of let it, again, basically heat up. I have another thermometer that we can take a look at. You'll start to see that there's some smoke that's kind of escaping. Okay, just putting this under the bag so that we can kind of see what's going on and get a little bit of a temperature there. We're starting at about 73 degrees, and you'll notice that there is definitely some steam coming out. There's quite a bit of steam if we take a look at this. The other kind of interesting thing that we can do is I'm going to go ahead and kind of work on capturing some of this gas that's coming out the top, because there might be something kind of going on with that. So working on filling this test tube. It is rather hot gas that's coming out. Okay, obviously all of the steam from that. Okay, if we check on our temperature, it looks like underneath the bag is at about 153 degrees. So that's pretty hot there. If I carefully take this, I got that little chirp. That was kind of interesting. What that shows me is that we have some kind of combustible gas. And I'll try and do that on camera this time. Scared me just a little bit, but it's totally fine. So I can go ahead and try and hold this underneath. Okay, didn't get one that time, but I can see if I can capture more gas. Make sure that it's going inside of the test tube. Okay, we're at about 169 degrees. Okay, I think I've captured enough more, and I can carefully kind of move it out of the way. Okay, we got a little one there. So there's some sort of gas that's being produced that looks like it's flammable. And while it's still heating up and producing more gas, I might as well go ahead and try and take one more time. Thermometer looks like underneath we're still at about 170, and it's starting to kind of flatline. So if I were to take a look at like the actual temperature graph, it's flatlining. Okay, now I've got more of that gas. I think I already set it on fire there. Didn't do a whole lot that time. Alrighty, so looking at this, we're kind of flatlining the MRE. So theoretically, your meal would be heated by this point, and we probably might let it set for just a little bit to gather some of the rest of that energy. You'll also notice that the steam is starting to kind of slow down, so it's not quite as chemically reactive. We're cooling down just a hair. So the height of this particular reaction we've probably already reached. and it shows that we're at about 172 degrees Fahrenheit right now. So this would definitely be something that we could use to heat food because we want it kind of above that 140 degree range so that we can, safely eat whatever we end up having. Obviously, the hotter the better because we can end up cooking that as we need to. So with our little reaction here, we know that we're producing some kind of gas, we're producing some kind of heat. It's got to be coming from somewhere inside of that little packet. And if I were to go ahead and just kind of like touch this, I know that it's definitely really hot. It's not something that you want to like hold against you. So this is something a little bit more extreme than like hand warmers. So again, about 176 and kind of staying a little bit steady there, which seems to be a good thing. So that's our MRE heater. And next steps are to kind of figure out a little bit more about what must be happening.